Services, Departments of Home Affairs, Higher Education, Basic Education, the Independent Communication Authority of South Africa, GOCTA and the Demarcation Board, the Department of Justice, Correctional Services, the Government Communication Information Systems, South African Weather Service, and the Departments of Health and Social Development. Now, as we previously indicated in the introduction, there was a three-phased approach that was followed during the total election process. And phase one specifically focused on the build-up to the election activities from February to July 2016. And the specific activities that we attended to during that specific process or during the phase was, first of all, the screening of IEC officials and service providers, intelligence collection, analysis and coordination with the aim to identify or determine your threat assessment, identify the specific hotspots. There was also intensified stabilization operations in the identified hotspot areas, the securing of voter registration days, the policing of political gatherings, rallies and demonstrations in terms of the Regulation of Gathering Act, and the investigation of related cases that are being reported during this specific period. During phase two, that includes the special voting day and the voting day from the 1st to the 3rd of August 2016. The focus was on the following. It was intelligence collection, analysis and coordination, once again focusing on the threat assessment associated with the elections, the categorization of hotspots and voting stations. The second priority was to enhance visibility in the identified hotspot areas, escorting of voting material and the IEC staff, static protection at voting stations, roving reaction teams to attend to specific threats, especially at medium and high risk areas, national reaction team that consists of the identified specialized units, and we continued with the investigation of related cases during that specific process. During phase three, that's the post-election days, starting from the 4th of August 2016, the focus was still on intelligence collection, analysis and coordination, specific focus still on the threat assessment and the identification and addressing hotspots, policing of gatherings in terms of the Regulation of Gatherings Act, the stability operations in areas where problems were identified, and enhancing visibility in hotspot areas, and once again, continuing through the whole three phases is the investigation of cases that's been reported during this period. Now, as far as the identified hotspots are concerned, that the number of areas that required intervention prior to the government election amounted to the numbers that are indicated there. Based on violent protest protest actions and criminal activities, those are the numbers: Limpopo 56, KZN 40, Gauteng 36, Northwest 30, Western Cape 25, Eastern Cape 23, Mpumalanga 12, Northern Cape 7, and Free State 3. And then based on demarcation queries and complaints in the different provinces, 9 in Limpopo, 7 in KZN, 7 in Eastern Cape, Northwest 5, GP Gauteng 3, Free State 3, Western Cape 2, Mpumalanga and Northern Cape 1 each. Now, the majority of these areas were affected by the nomination processes against demarcation results and political tension, which could have resulted in political campaigns and it could have affected the IEC activities. Now, the interventions in the forms of stability operations that we had to stabilize, that we had to ensure that we stabilized the situation, was paramount to ensuring that we had free and fair elections. Now, our deployment strategy that is applicable during phase one. Now, as we indicated, the specific focus was on intelligence gathering, and as a result of that, hotspots were identified by the established intelligence gathering coordinating committee made up that of the SABC Crime Intelligence, Defense Intelligence, State Security Agency, and the National Intelligence Coordinating Committee. Based on various issues, the National Intervention Stability Operations were conducted in some priority hotspots that included Vuwani in Limpopo, KwaMashu in KZN, Umlazi in KZN, Mandini still in KZN, and Ongoma. And where in those specific areas, the national specialized units, the NIU, TRT, and POP units were deployed from national levels. All clusters with hotspots conducted 3 operations 3 times a week to enhance police visibility. And all these operations that we conducted during phase 1 were intelligence-driven operations. Moving to phase 2, the deployment strategy during that specific phase on the election days. The responsibility was to secure election warehouses, materials, and provide escort duties for the deliveries of voting material and personnel. It also included static protection of voting stations, the inner perimeter security at all voting stations, static deployment of visible policing at 22,612 voting stations on a 2:4:6 ratio as determined by the threat assessment and the need for reaction in those specific situations. We just need to indicate a correction in terms of the deployment indicated there. It was the low risk areas was 2 police members, and that included 20,364 voting districts. At the medium risk areas, the deployment was 4 police members. That included 1,328 voting districts. And then the high risk areas is 6 police members and not 4 as indicated there. And the identified high risk areas included 650 voting districts. Okay, and those deployments that are listed there and that was actually done during the election process were informed by the gathering of intelligence on the daily basis, and where necessary it was adapted according to the specific threat that has been identified. The deployment of police in terms of this plan did not affect the day-to-day policing at station level. One of the priorities was to ensure that we continue with normal policing activities within the specific station areas. Deployment strategy still with phase 2 escort duties. That included, focus was on 220,000 IEC staff and material to the identified 22,612 voting districts. The deployment was 1 police vehicle and 2 police members, and then also 20 NIU members was dedicated to the escorting of IEC commissioners. The static protection at the warehouses where the election material was stored, that is your 9 warehouses, that included 2 police members for each one of these identified warehouses. The roving reaction teams at cluster level that we placed, that was placed at your high risk and medium risk areas for the specific intent to react to the incidents that were identified. They were strategically placed within each voting districts in order to deal with other situations affecting the voting process. Now, with specific reference to the strategically placing is to ensure that they could be optimally deployed within the time that has been required. The POP focus was to deal with crowd management situations. The TRT included that was to deal with medium risk situation, and then the National Intervention Unit, they were dedicated to deal with the medium to high risk situations. Now, the total breakdown of the SAP's deployment on the 3 days of the elections. During the first day, the total deployment was 60,480. On the second day, that increased to 64,197. And on the third day, the total SAP's deployment was 98,803 SAP's members. Now, as far as still moving with phase 2 of the elections, roving teams at provincial level, where we also placed roving teams strategically within hotspot provinces to deal with high-risk situations. And the National Reaction Team were made up of the Special Task Force, National Intervention Unit, and Mobile Operations Units that were deployed in KZN. The total deployment there was 90, Limpopo 105, and Gauteng Province 90. It is also important to note that the SANDF was deployed only for logistical purposes, for example, with air support, and ground forces were placed on standby as it was decided at that time by the executive level. Disaster management contingency interventions. This was coordinated at national level to provide for the relief of voters in situation of natural and man-made disasters. The plan was first activated in the Eastern Cape and Free State on a rescue mission as a result of snow, the bad weather that moved in over that specific day. Secondly, in the Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, Free State, and Gauteng as a result of extreme windy conditions on the voting day. Communication plan, election-related mandate communication was managed by the GCIS and the ISC, and that included election-related communication that was dealt with by the ISC. And then government included safety and security communication that was dealt with by the GCIS. During phase 3, that included the post-election period. First responsibility refers to escorting after closing of voting station, election materials and IEC officials from voting stations to the established result centers. Second responsibility was the securing of national and provincial IEC result centers, activation of venues with specific reference to the operational centers within the result centers. the additional deployment of SAP's employees around these result centers, and then there was also a hotline established with the NatJock and the Provincial Jocks. Policing of related celebrations and festivities. The aim of the exercise was to maintain law and order during their celebrations, and then also to apply the regulations of the Gathering Act and Safety at Sport and Recreational Events Act. Case management. All criminal cases that relates to the 2016 local government elections that were reported were investigated and monitored since 1 February 2016. Case management protocol involving the DPCI, SAPS detectives, and the NPA was developed in order to ensure that there's an integrated approach to the investigation of these cases. Most of the cases reported relates to the contravention of Local Government Municipal Electoral Act and some serious crimes that included murders, attempted murders, assault, GBH, arson, and malicious damage to property. The investigation of these cases will be monitored on a monthly basis until they are finalized. And then just quickly a synopsis of the cases that's been reported during this specific period, 1 February 2016 to 5 August 2016. There is a provincial breakdown. In total, the number of cases reported is 782, with the highest numbers reported in Gauteng 394, Limpopo 112, KwaZulu-Natal there's 90, and the rest of the provinces are listed there. The detail is reflected in terms of what's the current status of these dockets, and kindly note that you will note as far as the guilty and the not guilty and the court processes are concerned, the statistics are currently low, and we need to take note of the fact that these (394), 111 cases were referred to court, 223 is still under investigation, and the total number of suspects arrested is 290. In KwaZulu-Natal, 90 cases, of which 18 has been referred to court and 43 suspects has been arrested. And in also Limpopo, with the 112 cases, 22 has been referred to court and 72 of those are currently under investigation, with 74 suspects that's been arrested. The rest of the detail is available on the specific slide. The election-related cases in terms of the 2011 in the East, you will note that in the 2011 election process, the number of cases that are reported there, that amounted to 604. If we go back to the previous one, you will see there's an increase in the number of cases that's been reported. It went up from 604 to 728. Now, since those cases has been reported a long time ago, you will note that the majority of them have basically been dealt through the court process. We had 45 guilties, 23 not guilty. The 112 were closed as undetected and 423 were withdrawn in court. So in total, that is just a quick reference to the number of cases and the outcomes that were reported during the 2011 elections. The election-related cases, the number of cases that were reported from the 1st of August to the 4th of August, that is during the specific election number of days. So the total is 129, with the highest being reported in KwaZulu-Natal with 32, in Eastern Cape 17, Free State 16, and the rest of the provinces are listed there. You will also note that out of the 129, 113 of those cases are currently still under investigation. 16 have been referred to court, and a total of 39 suspects have been arrested, with the highest numbers in KwaZulu-Natal and in Northwest. Charges 1st of February 2016 to 5 August 2016, the type of charges that's been reported in the different provinces. First charge, focusing on making a photographic image or a marked ballot marking photographic image of a ballot paper. 2 in the Eastern Cape, 3 in the Free State, 4 in KZN. There's a total of 12. The second related charges, interfering with the independence or impartiality of the Commission, a member, employee or officer of the ISC. That's a total number of cases reported 10, with the highest numbers in KwaZulu-Natal 4, Mpumalanga 2 and Northwest 2. Removing or concealing voting material, total of 7 cases reported, with 2 in Northwest, 2 in Limpopo, and 1 in Eastern Cape, 1 in KZN and 1 in Mpumalanga. Continuing with those same type of charges, voting in an election or a voting station while he or she is not entitled to vote in an election. A total number of cases reported is 3, 2 in KZN and 1 in the Free State. Holding a party meeting on election day or demonstrating of a party, that is 2 cases reported, 1 in KZN and 1 in the Western Cape. And publishing false information with the intention of creating fear to influence candidates, 2 cases reported, 1 in the Western Cape and 1 in the Northwest. So the total number of cases reported over that specific period with reference to the charges that we've highlighted is 36, with the highest number in KZN 12, followed by Northwest with 5 and Free State with 5. Case management, election-related cases, that we continue with the related charges. In terms of the Municipal Electoral Act, the deface, remove or destroy billboards, a total of 88 cases reported, with the highest number in KZN 18, followed by Eastern Cape and Free State with 14 each, and the Western Cape with 13. Preventing Chief Electoral Officer from gaining access to voters, a total of 7 cases reported, 1 in the Free State, 3 in KZN, and then 1 in Limpopo, Northern Cape and the Northwest. Interfering with a voter's right to secrecy, 1 case has been reported in KZN. Undue influence, compelling, unlawful persuading of a person to support or not to support any party or a candidate, a total number of 16 cases charges reported. That is the highest number in Northern Cape is 5, and then we have Eastern Cape, KZN with Northwest with 3, 1, and then Limpopo and Western Cape with 1 case each. Contravention of the Electoral Act, a total of 1 case reported in KZN, and theft of electoral material, a total of 2 cases, 1 in Gauteng and 1 in Mpumalanga. So the total number of cases in specific reference to these type of charges is 115, with the highest numbers recorded in KZN 26, followed by Eastern Cape with 17, and then Free State with 15 and Northern Cape with 15. The other type of charges, the arson, public violence, gatherings, reckless and negligent driving, drunk and driving, a total you will note there of 149. The detail is available. I just want to highlight the highest numbers. For instance, in public violence, the number of cases, that is from the 1st of February 2016 to the 5th of August. As far as public violence is concerned, there's 103 charges. You will note that the highest number is reported in Gauteng, 51, followed by Limpopo with 15 and KZN with 11, and then the numbers listed there. As far as arson is considered, just want to highlight the Limpopo province with a total of 27, and the national total is 35. The other types of charges are listed there, but the numbers are quite low. Also focusing on charges that relates to common assault, GBH, robbery, murder, attempted murder, armed robbery, criminal injury, intimidation, etc. On the first slide, I want to highlight the intimidation issue. There's a total of 29 charges, with the highest number reported in KZN province. The second highest we have assault GBH, a total of 21 cases reported, with the highest number in Gauteng, that is 8. And then it's followed by murder, a total of 18 cases reported, with the highest number of 13 in KwaZulu-Natal, 4 in Gauteng and 1 in the Eastern Cape. The rest of the cases that refers to theft, burglary business, theft of motor vehicle, malicious damage to property. The highest there is burglary business, a total of 182 reported in Gauteng, with the highest number of 178, and then 2 in the Eastern Cape and Western Cape also 2. And then also malicious damage to property, 110, highest number of 61 in Gauteng, followed by Limpopo with 31. So as far as that, the daily crimes that we monitor on a daily basis are concerned, in this slide and the previous slide, the total number reported is 406, with the highest number being reported in Gauteng province with a total of 272, followed by KZN and Limpopo with 43 each. Then also the other types of cases that relates to fraud, possession of property, possession of unlicensed firearm, dangerous weapons, housebreaking with intent, Firearm Control Act, and the 2 categories there. The possession of suspected stolen good, 57, a total of 57. That is also equal to the national total. That's the highest reported rate on the first slide. The rest of the numbers, as far as the crimes that I referred to, are listed there. The second highest is a possession of unlicensed firearm, 8 incidents with 3 in KZN and 5 in Gauteng province. As far as the Article 27 of the Firearm Control Act is concerned, a total of 5 cases with 3 in KZN, 1 in Eastern Cape and 1 in the Free State. So as far as these 2 slides are concerned and the number of crimes or the crimes that I've referred to, the total is 76. And then the grand total of all the synopsis of all the cases that I've referred to now, the total is 782, with the highest numbers reported in Gauteng with 403, followed by KZN on 101 and Limpopo with 95. In conclusion, over and above the mentioned numbers of hotspot, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo and Gauteng remained the national hotspots, hence more resources were directed to these provinces. The demarcation issues in Limpopo with specific reference to Tshwane and the satisfaction with candidate nominees and candidates' killings in KwaZulu-Natal was specifically banned for, and it did not affect the security of the election process. All 22,612 voting stations were opened and they were secured during the local government election, and the reported cases are being investigated currently in terms of an integrated approach, and the stakeholders involved in that is the South African Police Service, DPCI, and the National Prosecuting Authority. The Department of Justice and Correctional Services was sensitized to prioritize these cases for the 2019 general elections, should not have a backlog or of outstanding cases that result from what happened in the current 2016 local government process. The deployment of police in terms of this plan, as we indicated previously, did not affect the day-to-day policing that we are responsible for at station level during the election process. And the required budget for the local government elections amounted to 256,968,174 rand. Chair, that concludes my process. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation, General. General Pafani, is there anything you want to add to this presentation?
No, Chair, that's it from our side in as far as the election is concerned.
Right, members, we will go to questions. Remember, we're going to still have the presentations on crime intelligence as well as the hotspots in Tshwane, so just hold back on those. Yeah, I will start first and then we'll go around the clock. Maybe just to get a sense of the mass deployment of members, a question to the National Commission and his team. We've seen during the World Cup, Soccer Cup in South Africa, a dramatic, let's say, slowdown in crime, active crime. Now, I just want to get a sense, was there during the mass deployment of SABC members in the 2 to 3 days leading up to the elections and the post-election period also a remarkable downturn in crimes, registered at police stations? I just want to get a sense of that. Then yesterday, and I think it's also in your presentation, we took note, the committee, of the progress with regard to the killings of councillors and candidates. We think SABC is making good headway there. But we saw comparative figures now from the General in terms of the 2011 and the current figures. I just want to know, in terms of the 2011, we had 18 killings. We had also the killing of a councillor in Northern Cape a few days ago. What was the scenario in 2011 in terms of killings? Now, if this is a new phenomena, if we take into consideration the 2011 experience, going forward, I see in the conclusion, it is said by the General that planning was taken, or the issue of possible violence or killings was taken in consideration. But my question is, if there was no killing of this nature in 2011, we had it now in 2018, in 2016, what is the planning going forward? Honourable Malabatsi.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me first start by thanking SABC for delivering a safe election. We were safe, all safe, because of your hard work. Once more, thank you very much. My first question is, did you encounter any challenges in the execution of your work as planned? My second one, did you have any security breaches in securing voting material? My third one, tell us about the security breach during the phase 3 deployment, which is the silent protest during the election results presentations or on the 6th August 2016. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Batsi. Honourable Mabija.
Thank you, Chairperson. Firstly, I would like to indicate that I was very much impressed by seeing the men and women in blue in all the voting stations that I have gone through monitoring. Everything was in order and they were always there. I say thank you. In fact, let me not say a lot of things. I just say thank you. So it shows that really you are doing very good. So my next question will be concerning the deployment. I would like to know if ever there was any SANDF duties allocated deployment, SANDF deployment to perform their duties, and where did they go to? Where did you deploy them? Thank you.
Honourable Mamula.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you for your presentation. In slide 11, can you please give, in slide 11, what did you mean with medium high risk situations? My second question, in slide 18, the number of cases of Western Cape is 38, but the number of suspects arrested is 1. I'm confused. Can you please give us clarity for that? And in slide 18 again.
The Democratic Alliance is shocked and deeply saddened by the loss of your colleague, Eunice Nyalungu. She will be truly missed. Eunice passed away on the 20th of July, joined Parliament, then was there. Retired quietly, the same way she lived. A beautiful soul, full of love and faith, ascended to heaven away from us, but closer to God, leaving loneliness and sadness. May fond memories of your colleague bring comfort during this hard time in your life. Look back on all the good memories you were able to have and smile at the fact that you were able to share these before she passed away. Our souls are hardened of pain on hearing of the premature and untimely disappearance of our friend and colleague. We knew her, we appreciated and admired her. She will remain in our memory. Death is something all of us are bound to face. Our dear friends came just sooner, as if in haste. Born on the 10th of October 1966, no matter
share that sense.
We know we to God. Like a great loss.
Thank
you. The ANC faith, her.
Our Lord says those people, executive chair, who strongly, the ACDP
played her role to the family, social sectors, and today we say a sad farewell to a daughter of our nation and the servant of
for her loss. But we worked together very well. Always discharged.
Really, Eunice Nyalungu, who respect 1995 home base, they were volunteers. That if you want to generate her work doing Parliament went in that looking our. She said, Professor placing bank unit from common.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We now.
The 1920 move.
Motion without notice.
Has been proved in.
On the main roads on political life and
it was not
noticed that the protection of is bled and for local
and have
the tense
motion. We just
workers. All on relevant
before action has been objected to. We continue. ANC,
Embankment in the by hospital.
IFP,
Honoring the best case and the
motion.
Ntantari Dr. Jordan and
The next part.
Abolition team remembers fair slave trade.
Met baie verdraad tot sy familie.
ANC party volunteer, ANC party who's
I put the motion. Any objections? No objection. ANC.
of a polling day.
No, Babuja.
Being considered, being taken note of the part prepared. So
Without them, acknowledges that committing supporters of materials and inspiration.
Stabbed with a broken body. Tshwane was half of.
Honorable members, I am informed that this motion has been objected to by the other parties, so I'm not putting the question. DA?
Mother, as possible 6.
Manjaro on the federal challenges extends.
It was not. Honorable members?
End of the rotation. End of the rotation.
I continue. DA?
Point of order.
Honorable members, I think you will need to get the guidelines on the new rules. Continue, ANC. You
Sorry.
don't have. Thank you very much. So I
be forced to take a turn. We've to take a turn.
fight in there. And the table must be informed. Thank you. Honorable Carter, what is it?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I just want to put it on record, okay, that we've always believed that we should not be abusing the motions without notice. And if we do not have a motion without notice, either congratulatory or condolences, we should not be forced to take a turn. This system was brought in place because of a previous abuse.
Thank you. Nobody's forcing anybody to take it. I was just saying this is how it works. So I'm not forcing any party to make a motion without notice. Honorable members, that concludes motions. Askis Babu Nkwangu. Thank you.
it is rules ezintsha funeka umbize nangeyiphi indlela respectful as it honorable. Xa nisithi mama ndiyamhlonipha.
Ngiyavuma.
Mabalawuleke. But see, discussing one of the things that we spoke about, I think in that, I can't remember whether it was the workshop on the rules or it was the programming committee. We said, for instance, we agreed on this cycle where each smaller party will get an opportunity to either read out a notice of motion or motion without notice. But it seems like the correspondence that was sent from the NA table to our staff members was very confusing. Because it actually says that it's going to follow the statement cycle, which then means that in our case today, we will not have an opportunity to say anything or to move a notice of motion or motion without notice. So I'm a bit confused. I don't know what we're following. Are we following our agreement and that meeting, or are we following the rules? Which one are we doing?
Okay. No, Honorable Nkwankwa, let me just say we will go back to this and make sure we do the correct thing, because there was miscommunication from our agreement, as I see it, from programming. So probably the table wasn't briefed well. So, but I really want to apologize for UDM not getting its place, because we agreed that all parties should have an opportunity for that. Thank you. Honorable members, we now go to the next item on the order paper is member statement. Does any member of the ANC wish to make a statement? You are allowed then. Makekana.
Thank you, Chair. ANC call upon authorities to investigate the case of the DA Cape Town City Council who knocked down a 6-year-old child riding a bicycle last week. The grade 1 learner sustained a heart injury and bruises on her arms and legs and is undergoing a surgery at Red Cross Children's Hospital. The Ward 50 councillor, Menkezi, claims the child, one who his party, ANC...
Of the use of blue light convoys by members... The local government elections have marked the beginning of the end of a practice of arrogant governance that has been symptomatic of ANC administration. I refer to the practice of the use of blue light convoys by members of city, provincial, and national governments. Where there may be legitimate use of blue light sometimes for security reasons, most of the time they are used to project a message of power and status. Politicians should remember that their salaries are paid by citizens who pay tax. Blue light convoys are mostly also about ego. They are used to Tshwane
into isolation
who truly respect and represent the people to be found in the Democratic Alliance. I thank you.
EFF.
The EFF is not surprised by the sickening outcome of the investigation by the Competition Commission into Asala Metal Steel Company as white monopoly continues to be abused dominant. Continue a
farming enterprise as part of a farming.
I thank you.
Thank you. ANC.
The African National Congress is committed on the 50-50 land policy, which seeks to get all commercial farmers to cede 50% of their land to farm workers. One of the first pilot projects
jail. Unless government is in control of strategic sectors of the economy, such as steel, basic infrastructure development, there will always be corruption. I thank you.
Thank you. ANC.
The African National Congress is committed on the 50-50 land policy, which seeks to get all commercial farmers to farm workers. Life partnership with the sector
have borne great fruits and are extremely proud. Great fruit. The Inkatha Freedom Party congratulates Team South Africa Leo 2016 on achieving its goal of bringing home 10 medals. The commitment and resilience from the team to this exercise. Girl. And
ANC 28 teachers and no as eliminating disparities in education.
Thank you.
He spawned around ANC at the early age of 17 after he was drawn into the struggle for national liberation. The ANC believes that the newly constituted
It is clear that full-scale parliamentary inquiry, full-scale parliamentary be scheduled. SABC. Last week into the...
Thank you. GA.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. It is disappointing that ANC members of the Portfolio Committee on Communications today backtracked on their support for a parliamentary inquiry into the SABC. Last week, ANC members were positively excited at the prospect of a parliamentary inquiry and in fact requested that it be scheduled. But today, they made a 180-degree about turn. It is clear that those members received a phone call from Lutuli House requesting them to turn a blind eye into the rapidly denigrating state of affairs at the SABC and protect Hlaudi Motsoneng at all costs. The about turn by the ANC committee confirms that the ANC is in fact complicit in the rapid decline of state of affairs at the SABC, despite their public protestations to the contrary. We will still maintain that the deep-set institutional rot at the SABC needs a full-scale parliamentary inquiry. We will not rest until it is scheduled.
Thank you. ANC.
Occupational preparation. Anyone who turns them into centers of sexual exploitation of learners must be barred from the rest of his or her life to them.
IC is going to have statements today. And I think that is the only reason why we haven't got the Vryheidsfront, why we haven't got any of the other people here, because they were not, well, they are not ready. So here we are with our statements ready.
Confused.
Although not the medication, obtaining World University still has what makes them to read.
Actively combat drug trafficking. However, is to enhance.
May I address previous?
Chair. Thank you very much, Chair.
Order, honourable members.
Just before I give a comment.
Sponsors. Committee.
Government will continue to expand and deepen cooperation among law enforcement agencies in the region and further afield, so as to enhance our systems of border control and improve the capacity of our defense force and intelligence agencies to make sure drugs are not easily penetrating our borders. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. That concludes member statements. Are there any ministerial responses?
House Chairperson.
Yes, Honourable Member.
May I address you in terms of Rule 1326?
Yes, Honourable Member.
The Rules Committee, in terms of 1326, has not yet determined the number of ministerial statements as provided in the rules. I would like to make a suggestion that we remain at 6, as was in the previous rules, until such time as the Rules Committee can apply its mind to it.
I think that's a fair request, and we'll stick to the previous arrangement that was in place. Are there any ministerial responses? Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair.
Order, honourable members.
Just before I give a comment, my comment, I just want to say to you, sorry for this commotion. I'm availing myself for the ladies to know me better. Okay.
Order, honourable members.
Minister.
Let's stick to the statement.
Minister, welcome the
House Chairperson.
Yes, honourable member.
House Chairperson, I don't think that's appropriate for a Deputy Minister to be offering himself and soliciting attention from female members of the House.
No, I suggest the Honourable Deputy Minister must stick to the statements that were made by the members and not introduce new topics that can be deemed to be offensive.
Sorry,
House Chair.
Yes, honourable member.
I rise on a point of order. Can you please rule that the honourable member here must withdraw because his remarks are inappropriate? Before he can continue speaking, he must withdraw.
Honourable Deputy Minister.
I withdraw, Chair.
Yeah, just stick to the statements that were made.
Yes.
Order, honourable members.
Honourable Chairperson, we have welcomed the announcement of 1.5 billion, a fine payable by ArcelorMittal for price fixing and collusion. This is the largest fine this competition authority has ever made. And also, I think we should add that we also commend the company for also undertaking, as part of the settlement, to invest 4.6 billion in new capital spending to upgrade its plant and improve its competition, because these bode well to our industrialization strategy that look economic.
Road Traffic Act.
Ministerial responses. The Honourable Deputy Minister of Transport.
Thank you very much. Responding to the use of blue lights, I think it must be said that this is in terms of Road Traffic Act, National Road Traffic Act, which states that no person shall operate a motor vehicle which is fitted with blue lights. But this regulation excludes any vehicle driven by a member of the South African Police Service, or any vehicle driven by a traffic officer, or any vehicle driven by a member of the South African National Defence Force. Then this is in terms of the law. These may use blue lights in the execution of their duties. Now, Mr. Msimango is not above the law, and the member who is raising the matter is supposed to be a lawmaker. Tell Mr. Msimango to dream on. There is law in South Africa. He must dream if he wants.
Order. Are there any further?
This made with blue light. Thank you very much. And motor vehicle is in terms he wants.
The
with the speak up.
Cabinet is frankly an indictment on, and makes a joke of this, on the conclusion of the day. Conclusion of
Order, honourable members. Order. Are there any further ministerial responses? There's no further ministerial responses.
House Chairperson.
Yes, honourable member.
House Chairperson, may I address you in terms of Rule 1325?
Yes, you may.
The reason why we have member statements is for members of this House to interact with members of the executive. Now, you'll recall that when we passed these rules, the Democratic Alliance warned that ministers would not be in the House at the conclusion of the day. And I think that the fact that we've only had 2 ministerial responses, one from a deputy minister, I think they're both deputy ministers, if I'm not mistaken, both deputy ministers, who are not members of the cabinet, is frankly an indictment on and makes a joke of this. If we're going to have member statements and we're going to dump the business to the end of the agenda, then it behoves the executive to make sure that their ministers are here to engage with members so we can conduct the oversight.
No, Honourable Chief Whip, we will definitely follow up this matter with the Speaker and the Leader of Government Business. Indeed, the idea of member statements is that there is a response from the executive when these statements are made, and if the relevant member of the executive is here, that the member respond to those. It's a matter that we will take up with the Leader of Government Business. That concludes ministerial responses. The ministerial follow up this matter.
Both deputy.
His force shall operate.
For commerce.
Just stick to this.
This is the latter of the
Very much. I think it must be said that this is in terms of road traffic, road.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Are there any further ministerial responses? The Honourable Deputy Minister of Transport.
Thank you very much. Responding to the responding to the use of blue lights, I think it must be said that this is in terms of Road Traffic Act, National Road Traffic Act, which states that no person shall operate a motor vehicle which is fitted with blue lights. But this regulation excludes any vehicle driven by a member of the South African Police Service, or any vehicle driven by a traffic officer, or any vehicle driven by a member of the South African National Defence Force. Then this is in terms of the law. These may use blue lights in the execution of their duties. Now, Mr. Msimango is not above the law, and the member who is raising the matter is supposed to be a lawmaker. Tell Mr. Msimango to dream on. There is law in South Africa. He must dream if he wants.
Order. Are there any further ministerial responses? Order, honourable members. Order. Are there any further ministerial responses? There's no further ministerial responses.
House Chairperson.
Yes, honourable member.
House Chairperson, may I address you in terms of Rule 1325?
Yes, you may.
The reason why we have member statements is for members of this House to interact with members of the executive. Now, you'll recall that when we passed these rules, the Democratic Alliance warned that ministers would not be in the House at the conclusion. Would not be.
Honourable member.
Duties. Now, Mr. Msimango is not above the law, and the member who is raising the matter is supposed to be a lawmaker. Tell Mr. Msimango to dream on. There is law in South Africa. He must dream if he wants. If he wants. then this is in terms of the law. Motor vehicle.
The best billion for price fixing.
Deputy Minister, speak to the yes, honourable.
So ever, whereby the
Higher education. Think of a crisis in the universities. In card, the medicine and select the academic ranking. Our best insight into urgent steps.
The 2 million national bond to make.
As
Deputy Minister,
To you, sorry.
I think that's
speak to the yes, honourable.
So ever, whereby the
higher education. Think of a crisis in the universities. In card, in Johann.
Also Thursday. And can I?
We haven't got the
profession that schools are occupational.
Decline of state. It is clear, Chairperson.
Resolved, Constitution African.
We pass to gas safety. It is enough. Plus,
Schoolman, you have, no doubt that we in school of
This initiative fund at the one
Of the 80 billion development market
Of Johannesburg for the citizens who pay.
DA.
Ngiyabonga Sihlalo.
Order. DA. DA.
Ngiyabonga Sihlalo. The local government elections have marked the beginning of the practice of status by so many administration of Johannesburg. The politicians who
the investigation by the investigation.
Now is the time for governments by office holders who truly respect and represent the people to be found in the Democratic Alliance. I thank you.
The investigation, the enforce those flows abuse dominance, metals.
I thank you.
EFF.
The EFF is not. The EFF is not surprised by the sickening outcome of the investigation by the Competition Commission. Metals in this illicit we dealt with to see the role of strategic sectors of the economy, such as steel, basic infrastructure development. There will always be corruption. I thank you.
against this view. Britain
Catered food ground significant part of
as one
Today they make a confirm
development from the to be exploited.
the AI committee.
the previous rule.
Chair, to know me.
Members of the House.
Minister,
Let's stick to the statement.
Minister, welcome the
House Chairperson.
Yes, honourable member.
House Chairperson, I don't think that's appropriate for a Deputy Minister to be offering himself and soliciting attention from female members of the House.
No, I suggest the Honourable Deputy Minister must stick to the statements that were made by the members and not introduce new topics that can be deemed to be offensive.
Sorry,
House Chair.
Yes, Honourable
Rise
Member.
on a point of order. Can you please rule that the honourable member here must withdraw because his remarks are inappropriate? Before he can continue speaking, he must withdraw.
Honourable Deputy Minister.
I withdraw, Chair.
Yeah, just stick to the statements that were made.
Yes.
Order, honourable members.
Honourable Chairperson, we have welcomed the announcement. The announcement. We have Chairperson, we have welcomed the announcement of 1.5 billion, a fine payable by asylum matters for price fixing and collusion. Fine to our SMM event
to the use of the subs in terms.
And it is, the message that we want to send is that we'll act against any conduct that seek to damage competition and jobs.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Are there
damage competition and jobs.
72 ports of entry, with almost 40 million people. 72 ports of entry.
Somewhere. It can be that everything that we do
72 ports of entry, with almost 40 million people streaming through them every year.
If you look around Lesotho, you can just see that it's like a perfect
we'll continue to do our best in managing
and then what are the risks?
But we are confident, Chair, that we have established ourselves as crime intelligence. It's not an environment without challenges. There continues to be challenges, but I think where we are sitting, we are managing these issues to the best
you
of
have a
our
lot of
abilities.
ports of entry. That
I see, Chair.
Chairperson, you generally speak of arresting smaller fishes. Does this arresting of smaller fishes lead you to arresting the bigger fishes? And if it does, do you do it? Thanks, Chair.
Honorable Chair, thanks. In Vuani, we arrested the big fishes. It is the big fishes that were detained and they ultimately were released. But it is those people that are utilizing other people, because you arrest a stone thrower here, you don't find a justification to have that person kept behind bars for longer. That is why our focus was now on those that are in the leadership group.
72 ports of entry, with almost 40 million people streaming through them every year.
If you look around
behind bars, but when the matters appear before courts, it's something that decisions are taken, and we have to respect those decisions. Honorable Groenewald, I think I'm with you on the issue of motive. As I said, you will not find a categorization anywhere on our system. It's more what would have been the motive.
you
And
can
yes,
just say
at some
that it's
point,
like a perforated area. And then what are the risks? Because the more you have a lot of ports of entry, that is the risk which is high on your side. But now the next slide is really dealing now with what are we talking about. If you look at the air border, we've got about 1.2 million square kilometer airspace. And then in land border, that which is covered is about 4,471 kilometers is what we need to look after as a borderline. And then maritime is 3.924 kilometers. And we are sharing the border with 6 neighboring countries. And in that, Chair, which is a high risk, is that we've got about 35 undesignated border crossing because of the borders which we had prior, where now some in areas, communities are just separated by nothing. So they're just walking between each other because there's no clear border line. So that's why we are saying these are the issues which we have.
Parliament's ad hoc committee on xenophobic attacks also previously reported that the uncontrolled influx is largely to blame for the incidents, since more people are streaming in than the country can reasonably accommodate. Home Affairs, SARS and the SAPS must collaborate to close the net. It does not seem to be happening.
The current situation
this matter did not only have to
the
do
SAPS
with
currently have
the
plus or minus
nomination
7,000 personnel deployed at all the 72 ports of entry. The SAPS functions include specialized functions that can only be performed by SAPS, and in our opinion, cannot be seated.
We cannot
to
only attribute
other
what
departments.
happened in Tshwane
But the committee says
to
these
them.
issues
In the
have to be
process,
ironed out as a
you
matter of
had
urgency.
violence on the one side, you
know
had
that our
land
borders are
invasions
porous.
on the other. So
We all
it
know
was
that
really
Messina,
a number of issues
Komati
that
Port,
came in the mix, and to prove that
there is
it was not
lot
only
of problems
an ANC
during
matter. We today still have issues in
Christmas
Mamelodi.
holidays and
I
the
think
rest.
this week
And then
there
we
were
all know
issues
that,
relating to land
in our
invasions,
streets of
relating
our
to
cities,
the
we have got
unlawful
people that we can't
occupation
identify.
of houses
They are
in
roaming
there.
the
So
streets, going
this
up and down,
all,
in our
you can't
farms,
attribute
everywhere.
it to one.
Because
It
the
so happens
borders
that people
around
may
Lesotho,
have
there is
taken
nothing really.
advantage
You can just walk
of
and
a
find
situation
yourself in
and
Lesotho
ran with it,
without knowing that you are already in
that
Lesotho.
case.
And
The four suspects
all
that
those things comes
we have
in
referred
the
to,
picture.
Honorable Mulebati,
To say South
relating to
Africa
the Metro
want
Police
us
car, we
to
said the case
deal
is
with this
before
issue
the
of porous border
Director of Public
and making
Prosecutions
sure that
to
we
make a decision.
secure the
Once a
country
decision
and
is made
also,
as
of course,
to,
and secure our national
we
population
are
register.
prosecuting.
The National
As the people
Treasury
are
says
known, we
implementing
will
this
go
agency's
and
mandate could
connect
take
them,
years
they will be
and it
processed,
needs to be budgeted for.
through the courts.
The committee will meet again on the 13th of September for
The
another
issues,
update.
Honourable
Abra
Chair, by
Barbia
Honourable
for review
Muller
from the House.
on character assassination. Ordinarily, we will deal with this if there is an element of intimidation and so on. If there is, for example, issues relating to criminal injury, we then expect those that are on the receiving end to approach the police so that we could open cases and deal with the perpetrators of such. And I think crime intelligence will continue to play the role that they play. For example, what is it that these people are saying and what reaction is it to generate from the masses on the ground so that it can be dealt with accordingly. In a way, I have answered Honorable Mavija's question on the instigators. Were they arrested? Yes. As we said, we have been arresting them, getting them to courts. Some of them, the cases, I think, were postponed several times, released, arrested again. But we are continuing to monitor those specific individuals. If anything unlawful is being done, we won't hesitate to act because that will be an injustice. Honorable Mbele's questions. Honorable Chair, I will answer this question safely by saying that we have ground coverage from an intelligence perspective. I am not going to say whether paid or not paid, but the informers are there, they are deployed. We continue to do a recruitment. The recruitment referred in here, there are non-issues which become an issue at the time, which requires infiltration. So at that point, we will then go into it. For long, if I just use an example, we did not have an issue in the institutions of learning. Not that you did not have sources in that environment, but a new trend developed, which now forces us to redirect our focus into that threat which is emerging, and also the change in the role players informs the redirection of the resources from an intelligence perspective to make sure that we get what we require to be able to deal with the situation. Maybe, Honorable Chair, the question that you raised, I think you referred to the report on the institutions of higher learning. I so wish that some of these things could be dealt with by the relevant authorities before it becomes a policing problem. Because many of these, take for example the security of the institutions of learning. It is the responsibility of the institution in terms of the deployment of security and so on. But the situation escalates to that level where we have to go in. But the issues that relate, that informs that situation from escalating to that level could have been dealt with by the relevant authorities. Now, who remains with this paint of the bad guy, the policeman and the policewoman who goes in there? Because unfortunately, we can't be spectators when there is lawlessness. We continue to interact with the DG, the minister in that space, but also the institutions. And from our side, we have been talking of intensifying our efforts in terms of deployments, not only at a visible policing level, but also from an intelligence gathering perspective, for us not to be surprised by situations of this nature. May I, Chair, with your permission, ask General Mawela, General Masemola to deal with Honorable Groenewold's land invasion related question?
I'll give them 10 minutes preparation time. We're going to take tea for 10 minutes, and then we'll come back to the responses, and we'll also take the Tshwane presentation and other follow-ups. Thank you. 10 minutes, honourable members. Thank you.
Let's talk about after the meeting. Then the answer to online, I'm listening to phone echo me amu cheche ishara fa so na picha za pagu ya search child abuser. Oh yes, sir. Bonini what they are charged. They lose some bad. They lose yourself in that. I drink them in the shop. I'm saying you know guys. Kama sabili leyo ke. Bantu sithi. Bese ukulay phana kwenza. Mama ka. I'm going to manage you 10.
Members, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Right, thank you very much, honourable members. We're going to continue with our proceedings. We're going to go to the responses that's still outstanding. Then we will deal also with the Tshwane unrest, and then also get a briefing on new appointments that was made by SABC since 1 April on levels 15 and 14 in terms of the new management team. So we'll also allow SABC to do that, and then after that we'll take questions. So I don't know, General, over to you, General Tshwane.
Thanks, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members. With regard to the question of Honourable Groenewald of what is the status with regard to the issue of land occupation, as soon as there is any land occupation, as SAPS, what we do, the owner normally will report the matter and open a case of trespass. Then we will immediately respond, assist in clearing the site of the land wherever they are. But if the occupation has been there for more than 48 hours, then another legislations, they come into force. So there's also a problem between, sometimes you find on land, private land, there is quicker response, but on state land, sometimes the response by the owners takes a bit time, which complicates the matter. But I must also say I'm aware that on the ground we do have problems somewhere, not all, but in certain areas with our police on the ground in the implementation of this, which I'm saying. There has been directives in the past, but last week myself and General Masia, we had a meeting with stakeholders around the issue, and we did pick up that there is misunderstanding by our members on the ground. So as a result, she's busy. We are busy drawing up a directive which we will send to the various provinces for implementation. We are aware that the standard of implementation, currently there are areas of concern, but we are addressing that. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. First, General Tshwane, and then I give Honourable Groenewald a follow-up opportunity.
Thanks, Chair. I think it is important to note, Honourable Groenewald, that people must lodge, we call it what, a trespass. It's a trespass case. It must be lodged with the police. But that must be as in immediate. If those people have occupied the place longer than the 48 hours, it becomes a separate process that must be dealt with. At that point, I think the police take cue from all other role players. But within the first 48 hours, immediately the owner approaches the police station, lodges a trespass complaint, and it is expected of our members to act. Where, for example, there is a deviation, we will want to deal with it. That is why General Masemula is talking about the directives. But what we will do in addition, we just established a crime prevention awareness directorate, which has got the responsibility to do awareness and community education. So I think it is an issue that we must not only communicate within our structures, but an issue that we must raise with the community broadly so that they know what the implications are. Why we make reference to the 48-hour period. Once they are there for over a 48-hour period, that thing of the provision of alternative accommodation then comes into place. Now, we will not be able to provide alternative accommodation because we are not the owners. So, Chair, I thought I must just clarify that part.
Grunewald and Honourable Bergman.
No, thank you, Chairperson. The General has answered. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you. But I appreciate that they get the message up to ground level with the police stations because we have a problem. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Honourable Bergman.
Thanks, Chair. Just with regards to the previous response on the third force, it was a bit wishy-washy and I can understand the vagueness, but what we do need ruled out, because it could possibly be brought up again in Parliament or told to people, which could be irresponsible, either we know what's behind it in our investigations, or we have a strong suspicion, or we don't. And if we don't, we should say we don't know. If we do, though, can we rule out other political parties in this? I'm comfortable with the fact that there might be a criminal element and not just a party element, but if there's another party involved, I would like to have that either ruled out or substantiated.
Right, thank you. Members, any other questions on this issue? We will, of course, give ample opportunity when we dealt with the other two presentations. General, over to you.
Chair, do we go to the presentation or for me to deal with the issue raised?
If you want to now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe just in passing, Chair, or in response, let me not just pass it. It's an issue that is been raised by an honourable member. In our response, we don't make reference to any party, Chair. It is an issue that we say we are aware that criminality may have played a part. As to who those people are, where they belong, it's something that only once we pin them down we will be able to know. But I can't link parties to matters of criminality. It is important that we be allowed space to investigate. That's why I can't conclusively come here and say there is a third force. But I also can't come to Parliament and say I don't know. Thank you, Chair. I'm going to allow General Ravi to deal with the matter relating to Tshwane unrest.
Thank you, General Ravi, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Honourable Chair, thank you. The next presentation will focus specifically on the Tshwane unrest, and you will note that we are starting to duplicate certain things because it's linked to the previous two presentations as well. Now, during this presentation, we are just going to focus on the areas that's been affected by the specific incidents, the operational concept that was adopted, the coordinating structures that were established, the deployment, the focus areas, the types of interventions. And it's also important for us just to highlight to the committee that during this protest or incident in Tshwane, we also had to deal with several other issues in the country, so it was not the only incident at the time. And then we would highlight some of the crimes that has been reported, or the number of cases that's been reported, and then also just emphasize the specific cases of murder that's been linked to this specific unrest during that process, and then protest, and also then finish with a conclusion. Now, as we've previously indicated at the time that the information was received by crime intelligence about the disruptive actions within Tshwane as a result of the nomination of the ANC mayoral candidate, the relevant sources and capabilities that we have within SAP was then tasked at that time to gather the necessary information that was disseminated to our operational divisions for operational purposes. Now, the dissatisfaction with the Tshwane mayoral nominee candidate then resulted in various acts of violent protest and looting of shops belonging to both South African citizens and foreign nationals. This erupted on the 20th of June, more specifically in Sunnyside, Atteridgeville, Mamelodi, Garankuwa, Loate, Hamonskraal, Bronkhorstspruit, Soshanguve, Mabopane, Rietgat, Hercules, and the Hercules informal settlement and Winterveld, and this continued until the 26th of June 2016. Now, just highlighting some of the areas that were affected during this incident. First of all, if you look at Sunnyside, it was the Tshwane Metro Police vehicle that was overturned in Arcadia. Looking at Atteridgeville, there was 3 shopping malls that are listed there. They looted also foreign national shops. The disruptions took place on the WF and Cornwall Road, government premises, and train and substations. At Hamonskraal, there's a number of routes that are listed there, the R101, M17 and N1, as well as the Pumulani and Carousel toll gates where there was disruptions on the Stinkwater Road, Jubilee Mall. Also involved in same as the foreign national shops, Temba Shopping Centre and the Kopanong Shopping Centre, the Winterveld Community Hall, Municipal Office and train stations. Moving to Mamelodi, it included the Mahubi Mall, the municipal offices, the Patco Bus Depot, Devneboom and Watu shopping centres, again foreign national shops, train stations and hostels as well as substations. Hercules, it included the Daspoor Tunnel, Bougainville, Van der Hof Road, Sunset View Road and Mabopane Highway, the Hercules train station, municipal offices, Horns Neck, Mahem intersection and also substations. Soshanguve, the Soshanguve Crossing, Mabopane and Thorntree Malls, Soshanguve and Batu Plaza, the municipal offices, train and substations, foreign national shops and in Buitenkant Street in Rietgat. Pretoria Central, the areas affected was the municipal buildings, train stations, shopping malls, foreign national shops, liquor stores, Hermanstad and Marabastad, Patco Bus Depot, the municipal bus depot, the Michael Brink Road, R80 and R101. Moving to Bronkhorstspruit, it was the municipal and IEC offices, clinics, foreign national shops, councillor houses, Ekangala police station and the township around Bronkhorstspruit, as well as the Patco bus depot. Now, at the time when the incident occurred, the South African Police Service adopted a specific operational concept that included the following fundamental principles to ensure that we had sufficient intelligence and information available on the incident. That includes the gathering thereof, to ensure that there's effective crowd management, to enhance police visibility in the areas that has been affected, to ensure that we provide that there is sufficient security at the city, within the city and at the identified malls, that we secure the operational key points, ensure that the routes affected are secured, that specialized operations are initiated where and when necessary, that the necessary airborne support is available, that access control is provided, once again where and when identified, railway security is implemented, and that all incidents that are reported during this time, that they are properly investigated. The next 2 slides, I'm not going to go into the detail, it just refers to the coordinating structures that were established, and you will note as far as all the relevant levels from national, provincial up to local level, the necessary coordinating structures were activated during the incident, and that included all stakeholders that are listed within the blocks. That also applies to the next slide. And it's just important to note that all the areas included the disciplines, intelligence, ICC, public order policing, Wispol, metros, detective, rapid rail, and the relevant communication structures. The total deployment over and above the normal policing that was initiated over the period included the following: Pretoria CBD 68, Hamonskraal 69 members, Mamelodi 41, Hercules 22, Soshanguve 53. The numbers are being listed there. We also deployed 83 detectives, also detectives 31 from the DPCI from PRASA, and the Rapid Rail Police 85 employees, and SAPS 105 members that were deployed, private security 130, Department of Home Affairs 12, ESCOM 28, Metro Police 300, and Air Support 4. So during this period, the total deployment, if you look at the numbers, totals to 1,075. The operational focus areas that were classified as follows during the incident: the monitoring and or movement of public transport. We had to secure and focus on school premises, monitoring community movement and day-to-day activities, securing government buildings, including municipal properties, to ensure that the public administration responsibilities of government could continue without disruptions, securing the affected shopping malls, ESCOM substations, known targeted houses of councillors, national roads and access routes that they are cleared, repaired and secured. We also had to ensure that the normal economic activity within the specific areas continue. And then we also had to address the hoax SMS threats that which affected the normal daily activities of people. Interventions following the extensive SAPS deployment in the affected areas were visible policing operations, and to stabilize these areas as well as intelligence operations against identified instigators. The situation was brought under control by 24 June 2016. These interventions were complemented by further interventions by community and political leaders who also assisted the South African Police Service and other stakeholders in this regard. It also needs to be mentioned, whilst the Tshwane unrest situation was unfolding, the South African Police Service had to deal with a number of issues all over the country. And this also required the South African Police Service to deploy resources to areas such as Galvandale in the Eastern Cape, where we had to deal with gang-related issues, Wuwani in Limpopo, Cleveland's and KwaMashu hostels, as well as Nongoma in KwaZulu-Natal. So the other protest actions, as we referred to, would basically lead to that the South African Police Services resources that we had available for deployment at the time were stretched to the maximum to deal with all the protest actions that related to a number of issues, including political intolerance, that included the dissatisfaction with nominated ward councillors, community protest actions relating to issues such as demands for water, electricity and employment, occupation of land, and reaction to evictions, instability at education institutions, labor issues, as well as conflict in the transport sector. Now, the areas are listed there. I'm also not going to go into the detail as far as this is concerned, but a number of areas where we had to intervene at the same time, they are being listed there. And you will note, if you look at the slide, it's quite a significant number of places at the time where the South African Police Service need to intervene. So during the crime that's been reported, specifically focusing on the incident within Tshwane, the total number of cases, if I go to the next slide, number 17, I will move back now. You will note that a total of 353 cases were reported at the time. The highest number, if I will go through the two slides in terms of the first column reported, is Atteridgeville with 87 on the first page, followed by Mamelodi East with 15 and Silverton 12. But on the next page, you will also note Luate with 71, Rietgat with 73, Acacia with 32, and Mabopane with 14. In total, if we just look at the total column at the bottom, or the total row, 353 cases reported, 107 has been referred to court, 187 of those are currently still under investigation. The total number of suspects arrested is 278. The numbers that we're talking about that I want to highlight is on that slide, Luate 94 suspects, Rietgat 37, Garankuwa 44, and on the previous page, Mamelodi East is a total of 23. Looking at the court process, you will note that we are not really seeing results at the moment because these incidents recently happened, and we must allow for the investigation process to unfold. Looking at the specific successes, focusing on some of the clusters within Tshwane, that is the charges possession of suspected stolen goods, 1 case and 3 suspects arrested. Illegal firearms possession is also 1 case, 1 suspect arrested, with the totals listed below. Tshwane West, stolen goods, suspected stolen goods, 4 cases, 5 suspects arrested. Possession of dangerous weapon, 1 case, 2 suspects arrested. Tshwane East, possession of suspected stolen goods, 1 + 1 arrested. Possession of unlicensed firearm, 1 + 1 suspect arrested. Tshwane North, possession of stolen goods, number of cases 49, suspect arrested 58. possession of unlicensed firearm 2 plus 2 cases and 2 suspects arrested, and possession of dangerous weapon 1 case with 4 suspects arrested, and that gives you a total of 52 cases with 64 suspects that were arrested. Now, just highlighting some of the cases that, the prominent cases that were reported during this incident, and giving some of the detail. On 2016-04-12, members of the EFF were at a specific hostel in Tembisa to hold an election campaign rally. They were assaulted by an unknown resident with pangas, knobkieries and other weapons. Several members of the EFF were admitted to a hospital, and then one of them, Mr. Edward Motibe, sustained serious head injuries, and he passed away on the 6th of June this year. No suspects have thus far been identified or arrested, and this case is still under investigation. Moving to the case in Pretoria West, on 2016-06-19, the ANC Regional Executive Committee held a meeting regarding the nomination of the mayoral candidate for Tshwane at the Tshwane Centre's Church in President Burger Street, Pretoria West. An argument broke out between members of the ANC and outside the meeting, and Mr. Simon Modime, an ANC member, was shot and died on the scene. A suspect was arrested, as indicated there, on the 28th of June. He is also a member of the ANC, and the case was remanded until 11 August for further investigation. And as far as the investigation is concerned, we are still waiting for the post-mortem report as well as the blood alcohol results. The third case is Mamelodi East on the 21st of June 2016. In Extension 22, next in Mamelodi East, the body of Mr. Piri was found in the street with a gunshot wound to the chest. No suspects yet been arrested, and the circumstances surrounding his death is still not clear, but it is suspected that his death could be linked with the looting of shops that took place during the day in that area. Mamelodi is still with Mamelodi East on the 22nd of June 2016 at 4:45. Mr. Daniels was found with a gunshot wound to his back. According to the witnesses, he was traveling in a vehicle which was stopped by 2 foreign nationals who confronted him. One took out a firearm and shot the deceased while he was running away. It is also suspected that this is linked to the looting of shops that took place in the vicinity. Now, up to this day, no suspects have yet been identified or arrested, and the investigation is still ongoing. Still with Mamelodi East, on the 22nd of June, at the address identified, Mr. Masupa was found with a gunshot wound to his chest. During the investigation, it was revealed that he was part of a group who looted shops in the area, and he was shot by foreign nationals. So this incident is also currently being linked to the looting of shops that took place at the time of the incident. It is still ongoing, and no suspects have yet been arrested and or identified. Luate, on the 23rd of June, the residents attacked the Central City Mall. After the situation was stabilized, the body of Mr. Makado was found next to the ATM inside the mall with a gunshot wound to the chest. On the next day at 6 o'clock, the body of Mr. Bafana Mbata was found with a gunshot wound to the chest in an alley next to the Central City Mall. It is suspected that both the victims mentioned were participating in the looting of shops in the Central City Mall, and that they were shot by unknown security guards. Up to now, no witnesses could have been traced, and no suspects have been identified, and the investigation is continuing. In conclusion, as a result of the immediate intervention that was initiated by the joints and through the deployment of additional personnel, the situation was then stabilized. And at the same time, it's important to note that these interventions were supported by community leaders and political leaders that assisted the South African Police Service and other stakeholders. The state authority was successfully reclaimed, perpetrators were arrested immediately, and looted items were returned to lawful owners. And then since the incident, Tshwane remains stable even through the election process. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you. General Farhane, anything to add?
No, thanks, Chair. That's our presentation.
Thank you very much. Members' questions? Honourable Malabatsi. Yes, I see there, yes. You first, yeah, first and then, yeah, I recognize the other names, you can go ahead, yes.
Oh, Chair, I wish I was not from Tshwane. We saw, let me first maybe thank SABS once more. That unrest was really very, very strong. But South African Police Services was up to the task. They managed to retain it. Otherwise, we would have seen more bloodshed. We really commend you, because I was there. We even saw SABS members on footage, or people sent us some pictures where a SABS member was also looting. He was, on the other hand, he was carrying the firearm, that the other hand he was carrying the millimeter. What happened to the police who were looting? And my next question is on this unknown security guards. In a mall, the guards that are there obviously should be a registered security company that is known to be working there. So on slide 27, when you speak of this unknown security guard, I do not understand how are they unknown in that mall. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mula.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you for the presentation. My question is on page 23, the last bullet. The post-mortem and alcohol report is still being awaited. How long does it take? And my question is from the other presentation. I want you to explain to us about the deployment plan during 2016 LGA. Does it affect a day-to-day policing at station level? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Marking. Thank you, Chairperson. On slide number 12, the very last bullet point, hoax, SMS threats which affected normal daily activity. I just want to understand what that is all about. My second question would be on foreign nationals and their use of weapons. Usually, are the weapons that are used licensed, or what usually happens? Because at some stage you find that it's just Wild West for them. They are in a bakkie and shooting and so on. I'm just worried whether they are legal in the country, because there's a possibility that they are illegal in the country, using illegal weapons, and what do we do about that? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Klongo.
No, thanks, Chairperson. No, one first must appreciate the difficulty under which our men and women in blue have been subjected to in that particular area. But, Chairperson, I would like to first know, as I was following the news there very strongly, I thought I was going to catch it somewhere in the given stats of this, so that one can actually have a glimpse of an eyesight as to what is it that is actually happening there, or was happening there. When the mayoral candidate, Dr. Diza's car, I understand when she was, when I think the bodyguard was fueling, in one of the filling stations was ambushed and riddled with a number of bullets in such a way that I understand that the driver of that car ended up escaping on foot, which I think maybe some kind of exhibit or evidence might be there on the spot to give some kind of clues to the police, so that we can then be able to understand what is it that has been happening there. The reason I'm raising this is because a political decision, my understanding, had been taken by the organization through which the former mayor comes from. And to my surprise, Mr. Chairperson, when I heard him also post-election just saying it was a mistake for ANC to have actually removed him, and then I just began to smell the red to say, what was then happening here? If then that person who was seen to be accompanying their then candidate could then actually then utter such words, now it's quite appalling. Then lastly is the question that says to me, under the given circumstance, in that whole community area, do we have maybe a well-functioning kind of community policing structures? And if then we do, have they been how have they been communicating or assisting police in terms of stabilizing the area? Have they been able to function effectively in terms of communicating the genuine information? Because I was told that some senior leaders were mobilizing the community through meetings and all that to go amok. And now, so that at the end of the day, we can then be able to size out and then be able to see whether our democracy is actually then on the verge of a particular threat, and if so, what then needs to be done in future in order to ensure that we don't allow such a pure anarchistic kind of an act to happen. Thanks.
Thanks, Chair. Actually, my question leads on from the end of what Honourable Mhlongo was saying, which was I was going to ask the Acting Commissioner, what are the lessons that the SAPs have to share with us, learned from the Tshwane unrest, in particular the preventive measures to mitigate and ensure better readiness in future for any such flare-ups anywhere else in the country, because the Acting Commissioner did allude that the Tshwane situation did catch them off guard. So just to get a sense and an assurance of what's been the analysis and what's going to be put in place to bolster and beef up and ensure a better preparedness and response for the future.
Thanks, Chair. Social Nguvi is actually under my constituency, and I think I share that with the Deputy President. And I'm always in touch with a lot of the WhatsApp groups that take place, the civilian WhatsApp groups, and a lot of the time they send information that you think to yourself, well, hopefully the police are also involved with as many WhatsApp groups in terms of gathering information. And if that is the case, then the Tshwane violence could not have been a surprise, because on the night of the announcement, when Sputler knew that he wasn't getting nominated, there was apparently a meeting that already took place in a hotel. Now, of course, it's not for us. We've got no investigating powers, but nowhere is it mentioned in this report about either refuting such an allegation or saying that that allegation was investigated. But it does go to show that a lot about what took place is not really contained in the report. Now, before we pat ourselves on the back and high-five ourselves on how quickly we responded and how great the response was, I think we need to appreciate that this is unprecedented. It's not like the xenophobic violence that was sporadic and took place all over and that would take a week to quell. This is something that escalated, and by the time it escalated to the point it did, in an exercise in empathy, to have people sleeping with their children, to hear the gunshots and to tell their children, look, we don't know, it's not thunder, but we don't know, the police must have it under control. But you can imagine the scene that was playing out must have sounded like war taking place. And then one of the concerns that took place, and it echoes my colleague over there, the police even say to you that, thank you, Honourable Malabatsi, that the police even say to you that it's far easier to buy a gun in Soshanguve than it is a packet of peanuts. And I actually concur with that. Now, again, when we're looking for resolve, we take intelligence firsthand. We say that intelligence must be a prevention. So instead of us being reactive, we would be proactive on intelligence. Now, something like choosing another mayoral candidate over the current mayoral candidate, people must be aware that there's going to be something that transpires, or possible transpiration from that event. And then, of course, would deploy around it. In Bronkhorstspruit, I would suggest, from what I was reading on WhatsApp and the xenophobic groups and all those WhatsApp groups, they were almost two separate sets of violence. The one was almost community orientated, over an area, over unhappiness in an area, and the other one was in exactly what we're saying that caused the Tshwane unrest. Am I right in that assumption? Is that possibly that we're looking at two different scenarios within the same event? That whilst the Tshwane violence was taking place over the mayoral candidates, there was actually in Bronkhorstspruit a community unrest that took place over service delivery. And why I raise that is the lessons learned there is that this so easily could have spiraled out into something far worse. We're talking about nearly a state of emergency which could have caused a delay in elections or something like that. So, or further devaluation in the rand. These lessons that we learn here, we must make sure that the debrief is elaborate here so that we learn in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe just one observation from my side. I think that not a lot of analysts have looked at, I think, and maybe to get a comment from the Acting National Commissioner. I think maybe one positive element of handling the Tshwane unrest was the execution of minimum restraint from the police's side. That's a total change in philosophy. So the back to basics approach driven by the Acting National Commissioner and his new management team, I think, is bearing fruit. It's been a very extensive operation. So I just want to know, in terms of the training, we're going to talk about POPs next week, but you had the National Intervention Unit in the mix, other units. Is that back to basics process also now influencing your doctrine? Because if you look, there was not civilian casualties in terms of the police. So it's minimum restraint, although there was some physical buildings and so on. But I mean, in terms of the human aspect, it's a change in approach. So that's very positive, I think, from a philosophy point of view. And I just want to know, is that now part of your training approach also in back to basics? Thanks.
Thanks, Honourable Chair, Honourable Members. Maybe the question raised by Honourable Mulebatsi in terms of the WhatsApp pictures. Actually, those WhatsApp pictures were wrong. Our members were retrieving stolen goods and taking them back for loading in the car so that they could be taken to the station. Unfortunately, people who have got ill intentions were portraying those members as looting, which was not the case. If I'm not wrong, we at the stage issued a statement talking to that particular issue. There were indeed some members that were caught looting. For example, at Central City, there were 2 members from Soshanguve police station, Akashine, who were found in possession of the goods. They were immediately arrested. They are suspended. Their cases are being processed as we speak. But all those others that were on the WhatsApp and whatever, unfortunately, they were meant to portray us as criminals while we are actually doing our work. I don't know why did they not take our pictures when we were busy retrieving all those goods. We went was it a Friday evening, to Soshanguve Luate. You would have seen the amount of goods that came out of houses in that particular area. Honorable Chair, the issue of the unknown security guard, it's because this is at the point when the case was reported, the identity of these people were not known. But the process is underway of, for example, doing forensic work to be able to get to that determination. Because even if there were, for example, 20 security guards that were deployed there, there will be one or two of them whose firearms would have been used. So we will, at the end of the day, get to the identity of those. We say they are unknown at this stage because we don't know precisely who was responsible for that particular act. Honorable Muller's question, Chair, on slide 23, post-mortem and the blood alcohol test, which is awaited. I will unfortunately not tell how long it takes because this is processed within the forensic chemistry laboratories of the Department of Health. So we are dependent on an outcome from there, but we will continue following up to make sure that these cases are processed accordingly. And there's a question you raised, how the local government election deployment impacted on normal policing. As advanced, no, it did not. If it were to have impacted on normal policing, it would have been maybe on the administration-related duties, considering that we have taken people from national headquarters, from the provincial offices, deployed them on the ground, including those that we have taken from who were supposed to be on rest day or on leave. But ordinary, normal, day-to-day policing was not affected. In actual fact, it was enhanced in that police visibility was on the increase. So the police were much more accessible because they were all over, which serves us well from a back-to-basics approach, because we said police will be characterized by visibility. Honorable Chair, Honorable Marcus' question, the hoax SMS is affecting daily activity. What we mean here is that someone is saying at the corner of this street, this is happening. So now you move the resources from there, you come here where nothing is happening. So it's some kind of a diversion. Now you don't take any of those SMSs or calls very lightly. You still respond, but unfortunately, in some instances, it is a tactic to take the focus of the police away from where the real problem is. If that was not the case, we will be much more effective concentrating ourselves in a space where the challenge is. So that's exactly what we mean in this regard. On the firearms, Honorable Chair, many of the firearms possessed by foreign nationals, particularly those that are operating like your spaza shops and so on, those are not licensed firearms. In many instances, we find firearms used being unlicensed, and that is why we have prioritized this particular area in terms of the firearms that are being possessed in that space. Not every foreign national's firearm is unlicensed. There are those that would have followed processes to get permits, especially when it comes to like those that are coming for hunting and so on. They will have processed their firearms accordingly. But in the main, those which we find, for example, involved, like where there is looting of foreign nationals, in many instances those firearms are unlicensed. The issue, Chair, raised by Honorable Mhlongo relating to the mayoral candidate, Chair, it is foreign to us. We hear it for the first time. We don't have any report suggesting that that kind of an incident happened. But the way it is said, it would have been serious. There is no way that it would not have came to our attention. So I can confirm that there is no such on our records, Honorable Chair. The community policing structures, I can't say that they were effective during the process of the elections. I think, I mean, during the unrest, it was a challenging situation. Many a time situations like this are left to the police, and we have to manage. We do appreciate the role that some political leaders played in helping to diffuse the situation by engaging the communities. We saw leaders on the ground. Of course, they will still be under attack, but to us, it went a long way in contributing towards restoring order in those communities. Honorable Mbele's question, Chair, on lessons learned, I think we have learned a great deal out of this. One is that as the police, we are very effective. Secondly is that no situation can be taken for granted. Thirdly, the importance of intelligence to enable proactive policing. It can never be overemphasized. And also, we continue to learn that irresponsible statements by people in leadership position it remains a problem, and that's why we continue to call upon leaders to help us ease pressure on the resources of the police, because we can't allow a situation where tensions are being fueled. Many of the people that were involved in the Tshwane, if you were to ask them today, what did you benefit? They don't know. This was to benefit few. And I think not only the police, but as a country, we must learn from Tshwane. We must learn from what happened in Vuane. But we can pride ourselves that the police will always be there. They will do what they are supposed to be doing. And in that process, we obviously will appreciate everyone taking their rightful place in society to make sure that we restore order. Deployment, of course, you get stretched, but what you'll always appreciate is the willingness of our members when the situation calls for that to go an extra mile. Because when you are confronted with a 20-like situation, the 8-hour thing or the 12-hour thing, it's academic. They go long hours, but to know that they are willing to do it, it's a good thing. I think as management, it gives us, it leaves us with a feeling of pride to know that we have those that are very patriotic and loyal to this country. Honorable Chair, the issue raised by Honorable Bergman, yeah. we will have investigated all this, including the meeting referred to in Arcadia. But I don't think, Chair, this is a platform where we want to present all the details, because some of these are at an operational level. So the issues relating to Tshwane were taken care of. Unfortunately, I'm not aware of the WhatsApp group referred to. I'm not a participant there, because for me, it's not about rumors. It's about verified intelligence that has to be processed, and you have to fall back to something. We did get a lot from the community in terms of look at this, look at that, and that in itself was stretching us. We are aware that people would have been told, we have done it in Atteridgeville, we have done it in Mamelodi. Why are you doing it in Harankua? Why are you not doing it there? And it happened. So that is why earlier when we responded to the question of a third force, we say criminality would have been a factor in there. And that's why we will continue to say, Chair, it was not everyone. There was a group which is small that was behind this, and we will continue to do our work in pursuing them. I would have appreciated more information on this. Maybe the honorable member will provide me at some point. It's easier to buy a gun than buying a packet of peanuts. If there is one thing that we are after, are illegal firearms, because we know their contribution in criminality. Just in Gauteng alone, a week ago I was talking to the Provincial Commissioner. From the 1st of August to the 10th of August, we have recovered 210 illegal firearms. So wherever a firearm is, we will go and find it. We can't leave it and take it for granted. It's an area where, for example, our intelligence is focused on. We continue to get that information, and it's being followed. So if there is something that we don't know, which the honorable member is aware of, I'll appreciate that information so that we can follow it up. Honorable Chair, I'm glad that you raised the issue of restraint, not only during the Tshwane, but you will note that we are, since October, we have said one of the things that we are going to do is to ensure that we take police back to basics. And we had said our operations will be characterized by visibility, but there will be response where the situation demands from us to respond, and we will exercise maximum restraint. So if you look at all this, it would have been fees must fall, Africans must fall, because they have been coming and going, all of them. You will find it difficult to get some casualties from the police. Not that there will not be any, because the nature of our job, depending on what is being directed at us, may result in such. But I'm really proud of members of the organization to continue to exercise that restraint. And it is not only invisible policing, Chair, that the back to basics is a resident, it's across the board. Even in our specialized units, the NIU and so on, because we just want to do that what we were employed to do. And yes, the back to basics approach has found its way into the training programs. Particularly, you go to the basic training program, the person will produce at the end of this year will be a different person in what we had exposed them to. I think some people in our country may have had a taste of what we are referring to. Here in the Western Cape, we hosted the passing out parade, I think just before the elections, where we were graduating 1,926 of young men and women, 1,324 of them only for the Western Cape. And you would have seen how beautiful they looked. I hope that they keep shape. They don't balloon in the process. But because back to basics is a reality, the risk is less of them ballooning. We went on to Pretoria. I think we graduated there 1,715 of young men and women who are now policing as we speak. So it has indeed found its way there, and it will continue to characterize the work that we do in the police. We are very grateful of the members having received it well, but also the members of the public. We get very good feedback to say that's exactly what we wanted from the police, just to focus on their work and maintain the posture. Thank you, Chair.
Let's go to the briefing on the appointments. We've also asked police management to brief us on the level 14 and 15 appointments since 1 April, so that we know who is the new crop of leaders that's been appointed in key positions in terms of divisional commissioners as well as cluster commanders, and any changes. So over to SABS for that. Thank you.
Honourable Chair, thank you. As you indicated, there was a request that we just brief the committee on the appointments that's been made since on level 15 and 14, that is Major General and Lieutenant General, from the 1st of April to date. So there's going to be a brief presentation just talking to the appointments, the detail itself, the status on the implementation of the structure, the equity profiles, and then the appointments on the identified level 15, and then also dealing with the appointments on level 14. Just giving you an overview of the appointments that took place over this specific period. Remember, this is from the 1st of April until where we stand today. If you look at the total composition, salary level 15 and salary level 14, as indicated there in the first donut chart, 41 out of the 43 appointments were at the level of Major General, that's 95%, and 2 people were appointed at the level of Lieutenant General, that represents 5% of the total appointments. If you move to the donut on the right-hand side, out of the 43 appointments that were made, 36 or 84% of that was made at provincial level, and 7 of the appointments was done at let me just correct myself. 36 or 84% was done at provincial level, and 7 or 16% was done at divisional level. There's a breakdown at the bottom where it's indicated how many of the appointments were made in the specific divisions and provinces. You will note that the Eastern Cape, there was 3, Free State 5, Gauteng 3, KZN 3, then Limpopo and Mpumalanga 6 each, Northwest and Northern Cape 3 each, and the Western Cape 4, and then in the different divisions, counterintelligence 1, crime intelligence and ORS, operational response services 2 each, and then 1 each in protection and security services and visible policing. As far as the race and gender composition is concerned of the appointments that were made in the 43, now the data is gone. Maybe I just need to, if you just give me a second, I will call it up on my computer. Okay, I have it here. It's in terms of the race and gender composition, the first on African male, there's 18, that represents 42% of the appointments made. African female, 15, that represents 35%. Colored female was 1, that represents 2% of the appointments. Colored male, 3, that represents 7%. Indian male and Indian female, 1 each, that represents 2% respectively of the appointments made. And then white female, 2, that represents 5%. And white male, 2, that represents 5% of the appointment made. So you will note that as far as the race and gender composition is concerned, that the majority of appointments were made in the category African female and African male. As I indicated, 35% and 42% respectively. So in terms of the, just a quick breakdown of the relevant provinces, how many people were appointed, it's just going to indicate to you, Major General, a total of 41. You will note that it is not going to repeat the previous slide. 2 in Eastern Cape, Free State 5, Gauteng 3, 3 in KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo 5, Mpumalanga 6, Northwest, Northern Cape 3 each, Western Cape 4, and then the relevant divisions at national level as indicated there. And as far as the Lieutenant Generals are concerned, you will note that one has been appointed as the Provincial Commissioner in the Eastern Cape, and one has been appointed as the Provincial Commissioner in Limpopo Province, and that gives you a total of 43 countrywide since the 1st of April. As far as the implementation of the structures that were presented to the committee is concerned, we've implemented it at 8 of the 9 provinces. We are going to the Northern Cape this coming Friday, and it's important to note that this process is led or facilitated by the National Commissioner personally. So the National Commissioner is visiting each one of the provinces, facilitating the process, and as I indicated, 8 of the 9 completed. Northern Cape will follow this coming Friday. And then head office divisions, it's partially implemented. That has been prioritized to happen after we've dealt with the provinces. So as soon as all the provinces has been dealt with, the process to do the necessary activities at the national divisions will be initiated. Just a detail of the persons that's been appointed in brief, if the 2 provincial commissioners for Limpopo and the Eastern Cape, it's Lieutenant General Letwaba in the Limpopo and Lieutenant General Nsinga in the Eastern Cape. As I said, both of them as provincial commissioners. The Major Generals that has been appointed, Counterintelligence, Major General Zima, Crime Intelligence, 2 of them is Major General Challen and Major General Tiu, both of them as provincial heads, the one in Northwest and the other one in the Western Cape. At ORS, 2 appointments, Major General Nkwanazi and Major General Chilembe, the one for Public Order Policing and the other one for Border Policing. PSS, Major General Ngobo, the head of VIP Protection Services. Visible Policing, Major General Botma as the head of Firearm, Liquor and Second-Hand Goods. In the provinces, Eastern Cape, Major General Janzi as the Deputy Provincial Commissioner Physical Resource Management, and Major General Vos as the Cluster Commander of Mdantsane. Free State, Major General Modise, Cluster Commander Welkom, Major General Dimpane, Deputy Provincial Commissioner Asset Management, Major General Molloy, Pudarichaba Cluster, Major General Lucia, Mangaung Cluster, and Major General Tsotsetsi Bethlehem Cluster Commander. Gauteng, Major General Basson as the Deputy Provincial Commissioner HRM. Major General Subia as the Cluster Commander Ekurhuleni Central, and Major General Motsepe as the Deputy Provincial Commissioner for Crime Detection. KwaZulu-Natal, Major General Mgonyama as the Cluster Commander Amayuba. Major General Makoba as the Cluster Commander Zululand, KwaZulu-Natal, and Major General Ngamakele as the Cluster Commander Ugu, KwaZulu-Natal. And Limpopo, Major General Skeepers as the Cluster Commander Polokwane, Major General Linda as the Deputy Provincial Commissioner Crime Detection, Major General Morakaladi as the Deputy Provincial Commissioner HRM, Major General Moluhutsi as the Cluster Commander Toyandou, and Major General Ngobeni as the Cluster Commander Guyane. Mpumalanga, Major General De Beer, Provincial Head Legal Services, Major General Mashika as the Deputy Provincial Commissioner Asset Management, Major General Mogale as the Deputy Provincial Commissioner Crime Detection, Major General Mashele, Cluster Commander Aikon Hoek, Major General Lensuhane as Cluster Commander Kwamaslanga, and Major General Kaba as the Cluster Commander Tonga. Major General Northwest, Major General Adams, Cluster Commander Rustenburg, Major General Pretorius, Cluster Commander Klerksdorp, and Major General Makwane as the cluster commander Brits. Sorry, I forgot to mention, Chair, that as you note, you will see that there's buttons to the right, yellow buttons with a plus mark on it. Those identifies the senior officer that has been appointed in terms of the revised structure, the new structure. Northern Cape, Major General Mguni as the Deputy Provincial Commissioner Operational Services, and Major General Pefu as the Provincial Head Legal Services, Northern Cape. And then just to note again that this coming Friday we will be visiting the Northern Cape to finalize the process in that regard. Western Cape, Major General Mbeki, Provincial Head Legal Services, Major General Memela as the Cluster Commander Nyanga, Major General Monkey as the Cluster Commander Tygerberg, Major General Jordan, Milnerton Cluster, Major General Lincoln as the Cluster Commander Winelands. Honourable Chair, that is the appointments that's been made on that level since the 1st of April up to date.
Thank you very much. General Bahlane.
Thank you, Chair. In addition to the presentation, we do have the profiles of all the individuals referred to, which we will provide to the Secretariat. And maybe the second thing, General Ravi can go back there where he has got the circle and a plus. Those, as he correctly indicated, are positions that we have filled in implementing the new cluster structure. Those posts, Chair, we did not advertise. These are the posts which we have filled through, Section 45. It was critical for us to do that because we have realized that command and control was an issue. And we had to make sure that we put management in place so that we don't have an excuse of why policing in a particular cluster is not being managed accordingly. But we took into consideration a number of factors. You have got people here who have been on the same rank for 15 years, 16 years, so 20 years. I think the one brigadier here in Brigadier Lincoln, who was at Cape Town Central, I think he has been 20 years on the level of brigadier. We made him a major general in this regard. As the general said, we will do our last province this Friday before we focus more at national, because the intention was to make sure that we build capacity at station level. So when we look at the national structures, it is possible that we are going to find people being relocated to the station or the cluster level where we have got some challenges. In the process, Chair, we have implemented, as I said, the cluster structure. You have now, in some clusters, already the cluster commander and a deputy cluster commander. What we did not do, which is something that I think when we spoke to the structure, we are not going to be doing, is that deputy station commander's position because of the budgetary constraints. I mean, the compensation budget is not growing. So if you take everyone, you are recycling the same people, and you are going to have capacity at the production level. So to try and close that gap, that's when we factored in the deputy cluster commander in the equation. Thanks, Honourable Chair.
Thank you. Members, comments, questions? Honourable Abatsi, Honourable Mabija.
Chairperson, this is very encouraging. You know, and it definitely will boost up even the morale of the police, for them to know that if I'm doing my work exceptionally well, somebody is recognizing me and so on. You know, this is very, very encouraging. But my question is this Major General Botma, the Botma I know, the one who was at CFR? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Honourable Mabija.
Thank you, Chairperson. On a lighter note, it's like the acting net commissioner is Prophet Patlan. Why? Because my question is about the promotion. And he talked about the section 45. But then I'll still ask that question so that maybe he can further clarify me so that I understand. The question is, when last did your office accordingly promote the lower ranks personnel of different divisions at local stations? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other members, Honorable Markey.
Thank you, Chairperson. I just want to clarify myself. Some time ago, I used to think, or if you are in the police force or you are in the defense force, and maybe you study or you do whatever, then there's automatic promotion. But I was made to understand that it's like you are a civil servant. There must be a post that you must apply for if it's vacant. And it was very difficult for me to understand that, meaning that you can do whatever you want if somebody doesn't die or a new post is created or there's something vacant, then you can stay in the same position for 20 years. And well, I don't know how it works, but it just sounds very unfair. Maybe the section 45, I don't know what it says, maybe if you can explain it for me. And one other thing, seemingly if you want to be transferred to some area next to where you stay, I'm made to understand you yourself must get somebody there whom you can exchange with. It's the onus is on you to do that. And I'm not sure whether the person must be on the same rank with yourself or what happens. I just want to understand the dynamics there, because what it means I can remain a constable after I've got my master's for 20 years. If that is what it means. Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Mabele and then Honorable Mula.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think I must just highlight that at first blush, I am quite happy to see that there's emphasis on putting attention to the cluster level. That was an issue that the committee had picked up on previously, especially in the Free State with our committee oversights visit there. And to restore the issue of command and control, as the acting commissioner said. I think I counted about half of the 41 appointments are cluster commanders, so I'm glad to see that area is being covered. Chair, my two questions are, could the acting commissioner just clarify for me the section 45 that was invoked, is that section 45 in the regulations or in the SABC Act? Because I was just checking now so I could see for myself what it says. Section 45 in the SABC Act refers to retirement, so maybe I'm looking at the wrong document. Just where that section 45 is, so I can go back and study it myself and better understand. Because there's lots of regulations that are at play in the policing environment. And then my second question, Chair, while we are on the issue of senior appointments, Lieutenant General Ngobeni in KwaZulu-Natal had her suspension lifted by the High Court. Could the acting commissioner please just give us a quick status update on what's happening there. I understand it was a technical procedural issue, so there's still the substantive matter of the allegations that she was initially suspended on. Could we just get an update of where we are with that and what the next planned step is, so we can ensure that accountability still follows through? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, members. That's the questions. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Honorable Mula. Sorry.
Thank you, Chairperson. I want to ask this question because, according to me, when I was working in the dog unit in 1995, I know that when a constable works in the police for after 2 years, if she's got 2 years or 3 years, they get promoted to a sergeant. But now, some constables, when they are saying they are not promoted, they've got 15 years in the constable post. So I don't know what happened. Does it change or what? Thank you, Chairperson.
All right, thank you, members. That's the questions. Thank you, General.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. Honorable Mulimati is not here, but the answer to the question is yes. That's Brigadier Bootma, who has always been within the Central Firearm Register environment, who was redeployed elsewhere, and following the advertisement of the post, he was subsequently appointed in the post. I want to get to the details. I'll get back to Honorable Mavija's question just now, Chair. Maybe the question of Honorable Mage, automatic promotion, I think it links to what the Honorable Muller is raising. It's no more the case. It used to be the case in the olden days, where at the time a constable was to be 2 years on the rank of constable, then he or she will, following acquiring of certain qualification, be moved to a sergeant, and another 2 years being a sergeant before warrant, and I think it was 1 year between warrant officer and lieutenant. That process was abolished with the dawn of democracy. New policies were instituted, and post on certain level or promotion on certain levels is informed by the availability of posts. So they are post bound. But we have now at that level, although the general members are not happy with it, what we call progression. What is it? Rank progression. So they are not happy because it takes too long. Remember, I used to say 2 years. Now it takes 7 years after training before that person can progress to another level. That's now the automatic part. But nothing stops. If, for example, a sergeant's post is advertised, if that person who do not have 7 years, as long as they meet the requirements, will then get promoted to or appointed to that particular post. So in this case, Chair, I'm trying to deal with both Honorable Make and Honorable Muller's question. In the main, the mobility is informed by the availability of posts. It is not automatic, for example, that the post, let's say I'm sitting in this post as a colonel, which is a level 12. Then the post level is being reviewed. It now becomes a brigadier's post. It is not automatic that the incumbent will automatically move to that level 13 brigadier's post. It will still be advertised. Yes, we can invoke, for example, the Section 45 and say, because this person is already there, has met all the requirements, there is no point in having the post advertised. We can just use the allowed processes to have the person appointed. One of the reasons, Honorable Chair, on a lighter note, why I did not become a teacher, I always said, no, I can't become a teacher because I must first wait for the principal to die before, I come into the equation for a principal's position. So I at least had a knowledge that in the police there was mobility. That's how I came into the police. But looks like that situation has caught up with us also in the police. But we continue to engage at triple SBC level as part of a way of ensuring that we improve on the morale of the people looking at all these factors and see how they could be processed. I quickly want to go back to the question of Honorable Mabija. If you recall, somewhere in December, we had our promotion processes that was long on hold following the challenge by Solidarity, and then we went into some discussions that resulted in those promotions being released. So it was in December that we have promoted people on levels, and we have done it now again. I think effective from the 1st of October, we have appointed, I can just give the total number here, 15,144 members. That's promotions, 131 colonels, 843 lieutenant colonels, 2,112 captains, 3,282 warrant officers, and 3,505 sergeants. And there was also a progression for, appointments for the Public Service Act, because those that I refer to are members appointed in terms of the Police Act. The others, level 1, 3,316, 293 level 4, 222 level 6, and 1,414 level 7. So the process is underway. If you recall, we were interdicted with this process. There was an outcome which had a relationship with the Employment Equity Challenge in the Department of Correctional Services. But despite that, we went into a consultation with Solidarity, and we were able to find common ground. So we are now in a process of revising our employment equity plan, and we will not long initiate the promotion process again for the coming financial year. So in short, Chair, it's not the big chiefs that are benefiting only, also the foot soldiers on the ground do benefit. They are well looked after.
Tell you, members, now
is this 1st October 2016?
This is 1st October 2016. Yeah. The next one, we are initiating it now because Honorable Chair, we just concluded.
In the end, you will still
so
be
the next
reliable,
phase,
responsible
we
for
are
the
looking
fees.
at close to 3,000, 3,000, which will be effective the 1st of January 2017, which means between now and then we will have advertised and go through the processes. Yes. They will be looked after.
Many have worked.
There will also 7,812 progression, which comes into effect now in October. That is now your constables to sergeants, warrant warrant officer, 7,800, which we will be taking care of. All right. There one question. Chair, if I had an option, I was not going to answer this one because I try to respect the individuals involved in respect of General Ngobeni, but that process has not escaped us. There is a challenge to the outcome of the decision that was communicated, and as we speak, there is an acting provincial commissioner who continues to do work in the province. So legal processes have been activated accordingly. Thank you, Chair.
Members, very short. I want to really come to the close because the dilemma is we're busy currently with the Chapter 11 institution, and this venue is to be used at 1 o'clock for Chapter 9 institutions election. So I just want to round off. But let's just allow the members.
Chairperson, there was a question that I asked about if you want to be transferred nearer to home, what is the processes and so on. Thank you.
On the other hand,
Chair, the Commissioner has indicated that he's going to answer my question that he missed here about Section 45.
Sorry, honourable members, is that all questions, all follow-ups?
Maybe one other thing. If I'm a constable, can I, and with all qualifications, can I apply for a rank of Lieutenant General, or do I have to go through the progression, sergeant, warrant officer, lieutenant, or can I just jump directly to and apply for a vacant post of Lieutenant General?
I don't think it's any more possible.
Honourable Chair, thanks. It is not impossible for that constable to apply, but if he or she may find it difficult to be appointed because of the requirements, which will, for example, require experience. I know that when we are sitting tomorrow, Chair, I'm sitting on two posts: the Divisional Commissioner, Human Resource Utilization and Legal Services, which are Lieutenant General's positions. I can bet the Honourable Maki I'm going to find a constable who has got a legal qualification but who has not practiced, who has never managed anywhere, which will place me at risk if I were to consider that person. So preferably the person must be able to go through the ranks and gain the necessary experience to go there. In terms of the transfer, Honourable Chair, it is not only based on the member having to find someone, because we will not only approve informed by whether there is someone that can come, we will evaluate the application, the merits thereof, and consider approval. What we will maybe look at going forward is the issue of because it does happen that a commander is saying, I am not able to let you go if I don't find a replacement. So there is a provision in the appeals mechanism that we are able to say, but you can't only be selfish and say you retain this person, but also make that allowance for the person to move, and we then allocate a post to that environment for it to be filled again, because the person is not necessarily moving with the post. He or she goes to fill a vacant post somewhere, and this vacant one gets filled in the process. Oh yeah, the National Transfer Committee, which is also in place. Chair, I just wanted to take the general, not the general Honourable Mbele's question offline on this one, if you don't mind, sir. Okay, but it is more in terms of the Police Act the provision is in terms of the Police Act that empowers the appointment without advertising by the National Commissioner. But of course, it's not a provision that can be used recklessly. It's based on need. Thanks, Honourable Chair.
So that's all the responses. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, honourable members, for your participation in today's meeting. Hopefully we're going to have the same numbers on Friday morning at 9 when we reconvene for the discussion on the rural safety process. Maybe just to say that I think we take note of the progress that's been made in terms of the appointments and also the cluster heads. It's important that we've got the necessary skills at the various levels to ensure that the back to basics mandate is further strengthened, so we welcome that. We also take note of the presentations on the municipal election deployment. I think in general there is appreciation for the role played by South African Police Services. I think we take also note of the steps taken in crime intelligence, but we have to strengthen that area further to ensure that we don't got unnecessary surprises and that we stabilize the communities as we go forward. I think it's also important to note that there's been progress also with relation to training and also the appointments made mention of the new recruits that graduated as police members around the country. I think that will also ensure that in terms of numbers, SABC is able to deal with the various tasks in the various provinces. I've indicated that we will meet then on Friday with regard to rural safety, that issue, and next week on the public order policing issue. I must just maybe highlight, we haven't discussed it, but there was invitation to us from the Home Affairs Committee to engage regarding the border management agency that's coming to the fore. But I think from the Police Committee we'll also have to discuss that, because there's constitutional issues also at play in terms of the role of the South African Police Service. So I think that's maybe an issue we will also put on the table in the next few weeks. So thank you very much, General, and thank you. The meeting is adjourned.
Bot mouth meeting.